baby, it's just me. Don't be surprised, boy, when I bust it wide.
I needed some with some bop and go. I got me a milli, I did it legitly. I'm still with the shit, I'm a hot.
Star 927.
Connected to culture.
Don't let the actions of the few continue to impact the majority. If you know of someone who is taking unnecessary risks with social distancing and curfews, talk to them. Remind your siblings, children, parents, and friends of the importance of social distancing. We will all get through these challenging times, but only if we can all work together. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC Banking Online. Pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Even Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
To all school staff and especially our teachers,
we want to say thank you.
Thank you for your innovation.
For the online lessons over Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Class Dojo.
Or on Everest and Edmodo, where I can easily access timetables and homework.
Thank you for your kindness.
For providing me with a laptop so I could still do my exam prep and revision classes.
Thank you for your commitment.
For coming up with fun ways to make schoolwork exciting.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness.
And your encouragement.
For staying in touch.
So finding time to check on me and my family just to make sure that we're all doing okay.
We want you to know that
we appreciate everything you do as educators.
Thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
A message on behalf of all government school students. Live from Star 927 Studios in the center of Cayman's capital city, Georgetown. This is Straight Talk with Ruth Anna.
Good evening, everybody. You are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young, always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:02 on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 17th of June. Happy birthday to all of the June babies, and especially those of you who are celebrating birthdays today or anniversaries. A happy anniversary to you. 943-3700 is the line in studio. And of course, you can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565, or you can also email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. Joining me until 6 o'clock this evening is Mr. Michael Miles of Inspire Cayman, certainly no stranger to the Straight Talk studio, but I'm excited to have a discussion with him this afternoon about the new partnership with WORC and scholarships that will be offered to help train Caymanians who are either unemployed or underemployed. And so, as always, we will have lots of discussion. We tend to have a broader discussion around these issues. So looking forward to my conversation with him as well. But you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation, we always start our time here on Straight Talk with the reading of today's Daily Bread. So today's Daily Bread is entitled Dancing Before the Lord, and the scripture comes from Mark 14, verse 4, and reads, "Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, 'Why this waste of perfume?' A number of years ago, my wife and I visited a small church where during the worship service, a woman began to dance in the aisle. She was soon joined by others. Carolyn and I looked at each other, and an unspoken agreement passed between us. Not me. We come from the church traditions that favor a serious liturgy, and this other form of worship was well beyond our comfort zone. But if Mark's story of Mary's waste means anything at all, it suggests that our love for Jesus may express itself in ways that others find uncomfortable. A year's wages were involved in Mary's anointing. It was an unwise act that invited the disciples' scorn. The word Mark uses to describe their reaction means to snort and suggest disdain and mockery. Mary may have cringed, fearing Jesus' response, but he commended her for her act of devotion and defended her against his own disciples. For Jesus saw the love that prompted her action, despite what some would consider the impractical nature of it. He said, "Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. Different from worship, informal, formal, quiet, exuberant, represent a sincere outpouring of love for Jesus. He's worthy of all worship that comes from the heart of others. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, here on Straight Talk, we remind you, we encourage you to spend time each and every day focused on His word, meditating on His grace and how awesome He is, whether it be the morning or the evening or right here with me, Monday through Thursday on Straight Talk. With that, I invite Mr. Michael Miles into this conversation. How are you doing today?
Phenomenal. Well, thanks for asking, Rusan. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Same. Always happy to have you back. I know your hands have been full.
Yeah.
I think the last time we spoke was when you were announcing the scholarships for Financial Peace University that have rolled out in recent weeks. If I'm correct, I think that was the last conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a phenomenal turnout. So we have,
I will
you
say,
know,
super
25 people in
excited.
two
I
groups.
know
Yeah.
on a number of occasions you have mentioned, which is awesome. And, I'm so happy that we've had many conversations about financial peace, and I myself have intended to take it for some time. And finally, I'm having the opportunity to be in this current cohort. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I've made the time for that in my life. And so that is ongoing. But you are using Inspire Cayman, your technical and vocational institution, to continue to further do your best to serve the needs of employment and employability in the Cayman Islands for Caymanians.
Right.
And we saw, and we've seen I think in the recent days and recent weeks, where in the last week in particular, where you started to circulate, the information regarding your new partnership with WORC and scholarships for Caymanians, through this time. And so we're going to talk about that this afternoon.
Right.
And so I first want to ask you, I know that in every conversation you and I have had since my beginning on Straight Talk, you have had almost a very singular focus in your conversation around employment and employability in the Cayman Islands, and what you thought were some of the things that were necessary to give Caymanians a better shot, at employment in the Cayman Islands, largely focused on the introduction and funding of technical and vocational skills.
Yeah.
And you, since that time, and of course, this is going back to what my very first conversations with you, you since that time took it upon yourself to plan and start Inspire Cayman, technical vocational institution here in Cayman. We've had a number of shows where you spoke about that journey, but here we are. And we come in now, bring this conversation into the midst of COVID-19 pandemic and all that has meant for the world, and all that has meant for, in particular, for employment and the opportunities, in some cases, the silver linings here in the Cayman Islands, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a new partnership with WORC that didn't exist before this time, if I'm
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The
And so if you could
I'd
start out
approach.
by.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, if you could explain the partnership and how that has come about, and what is the partnership at this time between WORC and Inspire Cayman?
So the goal is right now is that I work on skill sets and training up Caymanians in work. Responsibility is to help place those Caymanians and also bring about awareness of the skill sets that they now have that will be registered with them. So WORC, as we know, have all based on the latest government ruling in the LA, the government made it now mandatory for all organizations to register through WORC. So with that, WORC now has the power to say, we have the skill set. So it's important that we partner with them, because once we do all of the training, WORC can then say, okay, we have 10 people and these are the skill sets of these 10 people. They now are qualified to be placed in these particular jobs. I do have partners and I will be doing the exact same thing, but we now have WORC who has now more control over the flow of work permits within the country. And that's the critical aspect of this.
Absolutely. And just for clarity, and I want to get some of these basics out, and we'll talk a little bit more in broad context of the conversation, right? Now that's the, I guess, the key components of the partnerships, and but as the information has been released, it also speaks to scholarships, right,
Yep.
and the funding. And so where is the funding coming from? If someone is interested, who do they reach out to? Is it work? Is it the government? Is it Inspire Cayman? From the funding standpoint, who do they
Great
reach out to
question.
first?
Great question. They can reach out to work. Work will then refer them to me, or they can reach out to us directly. Either which way, they will have to register with work, but they definitely can reach out to us. The funding, all of the funding for the program comes from my organization. We have sought out grants and scholarships and all sorts of different funding in order to make this happen. I am happy to, basically, state that the community has have risen to the occasion. Corporate Cayman have also stepped up and have provided funding to make this happen on an ongoing basis. People have known that I don't mince words, and I mean, I don't dress up anything, but I've been after the government while I was within the government, and certainly while I was outside the government, to look at steady funding. The government have said to me, go get yourself certified as a TBET center. I've done that, and still I'm unable, or the people that are coming to me can't get funding. So I can't wait anymore. I'm tired of begging. I'm tired of meeting. I'm tired of writing emails. I'm tired of making phone calls only to see that, well, we don't have any money, but then the money is being spent on other things that the public don't even consider that are priority. So this is the time now. We have a really great window, right? We have, just in the tourism industry alone, we have 2,700 plus people that are unemployed, right? Or have been downsized in some way. This is the time. We can now recession proof, and I know you and I talked about this on an ongoing basis. We can recession proof our people, which means that they can work in multiple industries. It doesn't matter what happened around the world. Cayman and Caymanians are going to be good because we can shift them to whatever industry right now that's booming. And right now, the construction industry is booming. Why not? Let's shift them there, right? I'm not saying you have to be a laborer or a carpenter or an electrician for the rest of your life, but is it going to get you off of welfare? Is it going to ensure that you take care of your family? Absolutely, it is going to make sure. So if it was up to me, I'd be doing whatever I can do in order to, one, protect my family, and two, protect my income. So that's all I am after. I'm not here to fight with the government or fight with politicians about what their priorities are. I'm saying every report in the last 2 decades have told us that if we don't do this, we are doomed. And right now, what's happening? We have 10,000 people that are drawing some form of welfare at NAU. How long is that sustainable? Let's say the industries, let's say tourism doesn't come back up for another 2 years. How long can the government give our people $1,000 a month? Right now it's 3 months. You know how much that's costing the public? $8 million. And I'm not saying it's not.
Furthermore, go ahead.
You know,
Furthermore, the reality is they're doing as much as they can do to assist financially, but we all know what it takes to live in Cayman, right?
absolutely.
And we know that $1,000 isn't it,
It's
even
not.
at a bare minimum.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, Ruthana. And again, the money could be spent better. I'm not here to take money out of people's hands. I want to put money in people's hands. And the only way for us to do that is to make sure that our people are competitive everywhere. Doesn't matter where our people go, we have to be competitive. And right now, we're not. The average Caymanian is not competitive or is not movable from one industry to another. You know, I feel
Can I
that it's now
expand on
an
that a little
opportunity to do that.
I'd like you to expand on that point when you say that the average Caymanian isn't competitive, right? Because it's a statement that many people still don't understand, and so I agree with you. right? So I would like you to expand on that thought a little bit. When you say that, what exactly are you like? What are you talking about when you say that the average Caymanian is not competitive?
50% of the kids that graduate high school graduate with less than 5 GCSE passes, including math and English. That's not Michael Myers saying that. Look at the statistics. I went through the statistics with the minister. I've worked in education, so I know what they are. So I'm not here to say that it's the government's fault or it's this one's fault. Successive governments have caused this. What we have is a lot of talent in our country. We have young people that are talented, multi-talented. We have kids that can work in whether it's the construction industry or the automotive industry or as farmers, as fishermen. We have young people and people in our country that are multi-talented. What we lack are training programs and investment in professional development for our people. I have always maintained. So it's not because I'm outside the government that I'm saying this. I've said it in the government. I've said it for years. I said it when I was a social worker almost 25 years ago. I've said it when I was at the Marine Institute. I've said it when I was at Bonaventure. I said it when I was working for the government for 6.5 years in education. And now I'm working in the private sector and I'm saying the exact same thing. In addition to that, we've had reports published. One of the most recent reports that were recently published was the Auditor General report on education. You know what she highlighted in that report? TVET training is necessary. That what we are producing in our public school system doesn't and hasn't substantiated the investment of $86 million over the last, I think it was 2018 or something like that we spent that money. I'm simply saying, let's try it. What exactly do we have to lose by trying it and pushing it forward? Let's incentivize it, right? We're incentivizing a lot of things. Let's incentivize training programs. We're, as the government, as a country, we will be in less debt, but we have to do something different.
And I think that's the fear and the resistance. And I think that I'm grateful for the fact that you have people like you who have, for anything I've heard, for decades, right? Was beating the same drum and continue to talk about this before we were ready to embrace it. Truly. Now, we could have a whole separate conversation about, what time was spent not doing these things, but here we are. And you talked about recession proofing Caymanians, and I the silver lining, and one of the silver linings in COVID to me, is that it is forcing us to acknowledge the reality of certain things. We see that tourism very easily can be non-existent, literally.
Yeah.
We've been able to see very clearly the industries at this time that no matter what, even in the midst of all of this, we've seen what has continued and has had to continue to exist and to operate. And we saw how early the government had to clear plumbing companies, AC companies, electrical companies to emergency work. Even when you look at like pest control, right? Like those industries, even outside people's homes and businesses, those had to be cleared. And of course, there's food service, agriculture, healthcare,
cleaning companies, maintenance companies, all been cleared as essential.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I think it has put that spotlight for those of us, and I know that I am equally as guilty. You would think that you would logically understand, okay, food has to always be provided one way, shape, or form. But this experience for me has been so eye-opening as to the fact that I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your main profession is. If, in my opinion, if your main profession isn't one of those areas that got cleared to work in the first 3 to 4 weeks, like I said, you know what, an area where I can always, like, for me, and I made a conscious like thought for myself, which is I know an area that I can easily adjust to if ever I needed to, was food. right? Because that is something that comes natural to me in one way, shape, or form. But I have made a conscious decision to learn more about agriculture,
Yeah.
and it has shifted a whole focus for me because yes, I love my career in real estate. I love my career in radio. Those are all great. But this has said to me, if I want to truly be recession proof, I need to have something that in immediacy, if I need to, I can fall back on. And I know that it is something that has to stay open,
Yeah.
right? If I'm going to be able to always provide for my family. And I think that is what I want all of us to be thinking about, because we have yet to see really how financial services is going to fare in all of this. It seems to be standing strong still. But we really don't know, right? Yet. But you see all of these vocational trades. We see construction is one of the main industries that they made way to move them out into the work, to back into work, as soon as they could. And so it should be a message to all of us as to where we need to even put on a personal level, even some of our secondary focus, right?
Yeah.
To make sure we and our children and otherwise have acquired certain skills. And I completely feel you when you say it don't matter what's going on in the rest of the world, we need to do what's necessary to make sure Cayman and Caymanians and what's going on here, that
Yes.
we can work regardless. And we
If
have that opportunity. And that's
if
what I hope
not,
that. Mhm.
Ruthana, if not a pandemic, it's a hurricane, it's an earthquake. We're all susceptible to now those things, right? If not a pandemic, it's a terrorist attack somewhere around the world that's going to disrupt financial services, that's going to disrupt our US market. It's going to be something. Now, I want to point out a couple of things. Hurricane Ivan, eye opener. Tourism stopped for many months. People were out of work. That should have been the first indication. The 2009 meltdown in the US. For several years, we had high unemployment. Why? People weren't coming, they weren't spending, because everybody was going through a recession. We missed that again. We think that, oh my gosh, like that's just a fluke. So we've done, Hurricane Ivan, we done the recession. We still didn't learn from that. Now we are third strike. We are now back in it again, and we are still having discussions. My phone have rang more from people talking about TVET programs, and I couldn't even reach people on the phone. Now all of a sudden people are calling me about TVET programs and what I can do to help and what my opinion is and so forth. And that's unfortunate. So it tells me one or two things. We only react to emergencies, critical emergencies. That's the only time that we want to plan, right? And that's going forward. That's not a good plan to have. If you are only planning when the urgency is right in your face, you are going to be doomed, right? This government didn't cause this. It didn't cause the lack of the education decline. It's successive governments that we've dealt with over the last 20 years. Everybody comes in and tries a thing. And the next person that come in will change up the system because it's ego, it's personalities, it's whatever that they deal with. I've dealt with loads of different ministers, chief officers, and folks within the government, and they've all come in and they've tried a thing, and there's been no consistency. But we've not made a concerted effort when it comes to training our people. And I pointed out, with us having the high levels of failure within the education system, why not let's go another direction? The economy, based on this government and previous governments, they have stimulated the economy to a point where it's booming. But look at the jobs that it's creating. It's not creating more accountant jobs and more legal jobs. It's creating more TVET jobs. It's an opportunity now for have Caymanians become business owners, right? The two leading industries in Cayman right now are automotive and construction. Why aren't we making sure that our people own their own companies? Why aren't we teaching entrepreneurship in our school system? Like, those are the things that I consistently get bothered about. And then when you bring it up, you're a troublemaker, you're anti-government, You don't like this one. You're playing politics because nobody want to have the conversation. So I've said to myself, I'm tired of talking. I'm going to show you how it's done. Right now, I've invested over $100,000 of my own money in the money that I've made by doing training. I've reinvested it back into the economy. I've not made anything. I have to work full time. I work at Hope full time. So I'm not making any money, but I know I'm helping people. I have 2 youngsters right now, one 19, one 21, that if it wasn't for COVID, they would have their scuba license right now. They would have not have gotten that. It would have taken them years to have gotten that. We've done it in less than 6 months.
I remember when you first told me about that, and I would like, and you and I will talk about this off air. However, I do want to extend a invitation, whether it's to you and or them,
Sure.
to speak specifically to that experience as well, because I actually will be doing a show fully focused on the dive industry in Cayman, because as we all hope, tourism will come back, and there is an area where it's another area void of Caymanians. And so in the context of, because you can, through Inspire Cayman, like you said, they can do it in months. Nothing stops a motivated person for, say, doing something that provides them a job in tourism and a job in, construction, or some other related field, to balance them out, to make sure they're always protected, right? Because I've had very recent conversations with dive masters and dive instructors and people who own dive companies that have spoken to their experiences of, some of them fortunately have successfully, had a, 1 or 2 Caymanians come in and go into the dive industry, but literally asking the question of, how can we as in they, make this more attractive? How can we make this happen? And so and just by you mentioning that, because it was a recent conversation, and I did intend to reach out to you on it anyway, because I think it is a worthwhile conversation to have, right? And to help other, young Caymanians or even seasoned Caymanians understand that there is a place for them in that industry, right?
It is.
And that it's worthwhile exploring, and I've had some very interesting conversations
Absolutely
around
it is. See, some people just look at it as, well, they're not going to get a lot of money. But what if they own the company? Okay. And what if they're a manager of the retail shop? I'm not training up people just to stay on a boat for the rest of their lives. Let's train up people to own it. Let's train up people to own the boat, right? Like, we need to stop feeling that every time a person goes on a construction site, it's just labor, right? Okay, so now they're learning, they're an apprentice. I started off as a social work intern before I moved up through the ranks, and then I became a social work assistant, and then I became a social worker, but I had to do training, and I had a 4-year degree, right? Everybody have to start from somewhere. And what I'm finding is that we are discouraging our people from being part of the industries in this country that's booming. So here's what's happening. We now have a bulging welfare system. So the $80 to $100 million that our government was making off of work permits, where's that being spent? It's being spent at NAU, in Northward Prison, and the court. So that $100 million is dead. By the time they get that goes right back out through the door, right? I'm saying, let's protect that $100 million. And let's make sure that our people are now a priority, a true priority, not talk about priority. You can change the labor law, you can change the immigration law all you want. But if you don't put the processes in place to help people, they're never going to move. They're never going to get off. Just like we've had a growing within, and this is pre-COVID stuff that you and I have talked about consistently. Pre-COVID times, we still had over 6,000 people drawing some level of welfare. So COVID didn't cost welfare. It didn't cost charities to come in and provide more aid. What COVID have done is just shone a deeper light in the challenges that we have. And no one wants to face that within the government. What they want to do is talk about it, and then they cover it up with offering an $8 million settlement to people who are only going to have that for 3 months. What then? While we should be taking all of the folks in tourism that are Caymanians, and we should be saying, okay, you run your boat, I need to train you how to be a construction worker. And when the industry come back, you are going to be a qualified dive instructor. Because while you're on your boat, you can now offer that service. They don't now have to go to Red Sail because you can now offer that service as well. That's what I would be doing. Right? And I've said that to a number of folks, them saying, we can do this different. Or why not let's start from grade 7 and 8 that we identify these youngsters, and we have hundreds of them. So, people could talk their crap all they want about, K-minors don't want to do that line of work. Well, you don't have a choice. I mean, you're not going to be a lawyer,
your family,
or a doctor. You're not going to be an accountant. So what we should pretend that the kids that are not academically inclined, that they're still going to go in and work some administrative job that they don't qualify for, rather than skilling them up and making sure that they now can own the administrative company because it's now a landscape company and they can earn $100,000 a year. Like, why not? I am saying, why not? When I don't talk about jobs anymore, I talk about career paths now. That's the new lingo. That's the new language that we're now using with my organization. So I stopped talking about jobs because jobs are short term. And when you're talking about jobs to young people, what they see is a car loan that they can go get a job, get a $500 car loan, and drive up and down in a BMW all day. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a career path where there's growth in mobility. And
moving towards the top, but I
absolutely, girl, absolutely. That's what we're talking about.
And the top is the top of any industry you so choose.
Correct.
We are coming out to our first break of our time together. It is now 5:31 on the Star 92.7 clock. When we come back, I have some more questions for Mr. Michael Miles. I see Miss Yvette and Luigi Moxham tuned into the stream this afternoon. Thank you all for sending some love, but keep it locked for some more Straight Talk on Star 92.7. I'll be right back after the break.
Phone lines are now open. 943-3700. You can also find us on Facebook or email us at straighttalkci@gmail.
Burger King has been a part of the Cayman family for decades, and we know our family needs a little extra help right now. So we're introducing the best Whopper deal on the planet. 4 Whoppers for just $10.
We are family. I got 4 big Whoppers with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, let's eat.
The Burger King Family Bundle. 4 Whoppers for just $10. Available at all Burger King drive-thrus for a limited time.
Do you like winning? How about winning free gas? Free gas from Rubus is as simple as follow, like, tag, and share. Say what? You heard it right. Follow, like, tag, and share. Winners selected daily on our social media platforms. Go to Rubus on Facebook and Instagram. Follow, like, tag 5 friends, and share the post. It's that simple. Daily winners drawn for $25 fuel vouchers. So that's like earning, 1 minute of work. It's 60 minutes for an hour. $25 divided by carry the 1. No, forget it. It's definitely worth your time to follow, like, tag, and share with Rubus and win.
All I do is win, no matter what.
Rubus, fuel the difference.
When we look back at our teens, quite often we come to appreciate our parents' efforts to keep us safe. What was restrictive then becomes sound reasoning as an adult. The current curfews are much the same. Temporary restrictions for our community with your long-term health and welfare in mind. We will mature through these challenging times and emerge stronger. Stay responsible now so that our future can be bright. Hashtag Stay Home, Cayman.
To all school staff and especially our teachers,
we want to say thank you.
Thank you for your innovation.
For the online lessons over Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Class Dojo.
Or on Everest and Edmodo, where I can easily access timetables and homework.
Thank you for your kindness.
For providing me with a laptop so I can still do my exam prep and revision classes.
Thank you for your commitment.
For coming up with fun ways to make schoolwork exciting.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness
and your encouragement.
For staying in touch.
So finding time to check on me and my family just to make sure that we're all doing okay.
We want you to know that
we appreciate everything you do as educators.
Thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
A message on behalf of all government school students. Welcome back to Straight Talk with Ruth Anna on Star 927.
We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young, with you until 6 o'clock this evening. Joined this afternoon by Mr. Michael Miles from Inspire Cayman, talking about the newest partnership with WORC to help retool and get unemployed and underemployed Caymanians reskilled and upskilled to get them back in the workforce through this partnership. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565, and you can also email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. We are also streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. Thank you to all those who have tuned in via the Facebook stream, and all of you who are also tuned in via radio. And I have to say, because I haven't said it in a while, and I was reminded recently by a listener that I appreciate those of you who continue to tune in each and every day, no matter where you are, what you're doing, what pandemic is going on in the world. And I appreciate the trust that you put in me, and I will always do my best to keep you informed and bring, relevant and interesting information onto the show. And if ever you have anything that you specifically want to hear about, please don't ever hesitate to say, hey, I want to learn more about this. I think this would be a great show. I love to hear from you and love to hear your ideas. But welcome back. Now, Michael, I want you just to, for anyone just coming into our conversation, if you could just reiterate for them the partnership that we are talking about between you and WORC, Inspire Cayman and WORC, and the scholarships that are available. How does that partnership work, and who and how do they reach out for scholarships?
So they can email myself at info@inspirecaymantraining.com, or give me a call at 939-1301 to discuss it. We have 10 scholarships, 10 full scholarships that's worth about $3,100, I think it is. And we're doing 3 courses. Core curriculum, which is the introductory to foundation for craft skills. They have to do that. And then we are doing Tools for Success. It's our employability course, and then Financial Peace University. The hope is right now is that once they are trained up, I would say 3.5-4 months, WORC's partnership, the criticalness of that is that we will then work with the WORC department to place them. So before they even get out of training, we should know where these 10 people are going, because the positions are there, right? The job openings are there. Our responsibility right now is to partner with WORC, because they will then know the amount of vacancies, because all employers now have to register through WORC. So WORC should know where we can put these folks.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the benefit of that portal, in that it is finally and hopefully so a hub of information for WORC to say, okay, to always be aware. And I had a very interesting question come in when I was on the show the other day, and which I will seek out a response to, because someone asked a very relevant question, and they asked if all of the government jobs would also have to be put into the Jobs Cayman portal, which I thought was a very important question. Now, I know that CIG, has their own jobs website and or a section of the government website, but I thought that if we really want to have all of the jobs all in one place, that it's critical that all of the CIG jobs also it go through the Jobs Cayman portal, because I'm sure they use the services, technical vocational services as well, right?
Yeah.
But that question came in the other day. But that is, the nature of the partnership. So the goal is that you train them based on all of the research you've done to set up Inspire Cayman, to look at, okay, what is really missing to make Caymanians competitive, to help get them trained, and then through WORC have a direct filter into available jobs that meet the skills that they have just been trained in.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we have, Ruthana, I think about 22, 23 partners as well, from DART to CUC, NCB, McAlpine. I mean, we have major competitors in this country that have signed on with Inspire Kim and Training as well. That once they have vacancies, we will be I will know that before these folks get their first accreditation. And then we will be able to say, okay, John, you are going to McAlpine because they have a position there for you. Susan, you are going to NCB because they have something there for you. You know, last night we currently run an evening program. We have 13 Caymanians and one expat that's taken the core curriculum and the Tools to Success course. And there's a young lady that's part of this course. There's some days where I just feel like walking away from this because I feel like I'm just beating my head against a wall. And yesterday, you know, she took one of the module tests and did phenomenal well in it. And then she texted me back and said, you know, Mr. Miles, I just want to let you know that not only did I do very well in that test that I started real hard at, she said, I applied to Kirk Home Center and interviewed with them. And because I was taking your course and they recognized I wanted to be an electrician, they're going to hire me and they're going to put me right in that department and teach me the different aspects of electrical resources.
That is awesome.
So when I read that
is awesome.
I say, you know something, I'm in the right place. I don't care what else is going down. I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right thing, and I'll keep on moving this forward because it's stories like that that has helped me. I have other people that I can tell you about that they are, for the last 2.5 months, it's been tough teaching these people on Zoom. I mean, I hate teaching it on Zoom, but it's what we have, and they have been soldiers through it. And that's all we can ask for. And it's hard teaching TVET programs over Zoom, but they have done it and are doing it with class. So we have that. Then we have two youngsters, both Caymanians, that are doing our PATA certification program. These are the two youngsters that I'm aware of that have gotten this far in the last 6 months. And it's because of persistence. You know, we have folks like Aaron Hunt from Kim and Eco Divers that have spent a tremendous amount of time, you know, just mentoring. Like that's been the biggest deal and the difference maker with these youngsters, right? Keeping them focused. Now they're in a position where they are going to be professional scuba divers. Yes. They are going to be in the system, right? So it's stuff like that, Ruthana, that, you know, we don't talk about, but we have to start to talk about, because even if they don't end up in the system, the accomplishment is going to guarantee some success with them wherever they go. They can go anywhere in the world now and work. Once they get that, you know, that certification, they can go, and they are now dive masters. They're qualified dive masters. But we wanted more. So we paid to ensure that they get their professional designation. These are the things that we should be doing to ensure that our people keep inspired, right? And now, you know, they want more. So they've gone off and they've gotten their boat license because they want to know how to work the boat. Well, I want to drive the boat. Well, what if I want to, you know, own a boat myself? I don't want to be paying someone, you know, to own my boat. So I have to know how to drive the boat. So they are now qualified up to driving a 40-foot boat. These are the things that we are consistently looking at and where the gaps are. What I'm saying is that we're making it hard on ourselves when we don't join forces. I don't want to be against the government. I don't want to be pressuring the government. I want to partner with the government. I wouldn't be paying, you know, almost $40,000 in scholarships and spending needless amounts of time out fundraising if our people could just tap into the scholarship funds that already exist. I have to go and get funds when we have almost $10 million in funds that the government produces that the folks that come into my program don't have access to. And no one could give me a reasonable idea on why that is. And all I'm hearing is, well, because we haven't done this, and you know, the education council need to do this. And I'm saying, I don't understand that. Like, why can't we just say, you know, something this need to happen? We did it with pension. We went to the L and we say, you know, something, everybody need to get their pension. Everybody that want a pension besides government need to get their pension. So why is this so hard? That has always been my question. Right?
And a question that still goes unanswered. Mr. Theodore Kelly from 24/7 Towing says on Facebook, he said, the word job means just over broke. Learn a skill, trade, certificate individually they can dictate their own income. And I've said it before, and I had my most recent experience in need of a tow truck was with Mr. Theodore. And I can tell you, and I told him that day when I met him, and he had towed the vehicle and put it in a that he's an artist.
Yes, he is.
An absolute artist, because I promise you, I didn't think he could get the car into the parking spot because of the driveway it needed to go into, and this big tow truck and all this kind of stuff. And I was astonished, and I stood there in amazement at his skill at what he does. And he has a background in financial services. And because I had to ask him, I was like, how long have you been doing this? What, where did this come from? And we had a long conversation about the level of fulfillment that he feels in this, in choosing this career path and coming out of the career he was previously in, and, and what the satisfaction he gets by being able to do this every day, and the professionalism at which he runs his business with, and the eagerness. Because I don't know if he's still tuned in, but I remember that day, and I won't call any names. I had called other tow companies, and I remember I called my sister, said, any tow company? And she said, well, this guy lived down the back of our road, and I think this is the name of the company. And so that's how I ended up, calling him. And when I tell you, he said he was, and to me, this feeds the conversation of, this is how you rise to the top. This is how you own your own business, right? And then whatever industry you choose, whether that is diving, a tow company, construction, otherwise. I was just so impressed. Number one, he made it very clear, I want your business. Right?
Yep.
We are willing to work. It was as simple as that, because I think it was a holiday or a Sunday or something like that. And he made it very clear, although he had other jobs lined up before mine, he made it very clear, you just let me know and I am ready to work. This is what time I can be to you. At the time he said he was going to be there, he was there. He was super professional, super prepared, an artist at what I now consider a craft in tow truck operation, and I'm sure which comes with lots of experience. But I'm so glad he put that comment there, because it was just my whole conversation experience with Mr. Theodore just really highlighted for me how no matter what your background is, and whether it's financial services, whatever, you can find not only a way to make a living, but also be happy in things that you are just good at, right? And especially if you operate at a certain level. And then Troy Leacock says, there is no higher national priority than to educate, motivate, and empower our people, right? And I think he's agreeing, with what you have said. And so one of the things I'd like to find out from you, as you said, you said over, how long has Inspire Cayman been open at this time?
Since January of 2019.
Okay, and so we are a year and a half, right? In Inspire Cayman, and we've spoken on, on a number of occasions that, like you say, it was difficult to even get some people to pick up the phone, but now the phone is ringing off the hook, and those sorts of shifts in behavior. What I'm curious to know, has there been a shift, not from the government end, but from the public, right? The Caymanians we so desperately want to train, because I think that, in my opinion, I think some of the resistance in the beginning is possibly us, the Caymanians ourselves.
I don't think it is, Ruthana. I would disagree.
Sure. So what has been your experience?
I think it's a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fallacy.
Is it a funding issue?
And we continue to promote that. Because the biggest challenges that I see is that it's not funded. That's the biggest issue. It has nothing to do with people not wanting to come. I've had to turn back people because I can't afford to make the program free. Out of 15 people that I have in a current program, 12 is on scholarship. You know how they've gotten that scholarship? I have had to go out and beg because they would have never come to me. The 2 youngsters that's doing the dive master or the PADI instructor training, that's $20,000. PADI is a very expensive training program.
Yes.
It's renowned. It's all around the world. You could go anywhere in the world and work. We sponsored that at 100%. And if it wasn't so for a lot of lovely people coming to my rescue, those youngsters would have never gotten that experience. In the last 3 or 4 months, we've given out $20,000 in scholarships.
Wow.
That have come from organizations like Rotary.
Awesome.
The Contractors Association. But it have come from small donations from people who've called me to say, man, I know that you need this. I'm going to do what I can to help. Because they know, like, I'm not here, you know, profiting off of all of this stuff. If I was, why would I go into this? Right? I would have taken $150,000 and invested in stock and made a bundle. Right? Yeah. I believe in our people because I am going to grow old here. I'm going to die here. My family is not going anywhere. My daughters are not going to go anywhere. They're all coming back to the Cayman Islands. I need to make sure that this place is safe. And this have been my fight all along. We consistently play, well, you know, not a lot of kids want to do it. Really? So where are they going? Where exactly are all these kids going? So you have now 10,000 people that's unemployed, or at least at NAU. Where are those people going? Yeah. Right? You have 2,700 people that's coming out of the tourism, from tourism jobs. Where are you going to place them? Let's say tourism don't come back up for the next year. Where are those people going to go? Because those people come with rent and mortgages and light bills and phone bills and all sorts of, and children and all sorts of different things. What, we're going to give out $8.1 million every 3 months to keep them going?
Which we cannot afford. And
no one can afford that.
Training in the long run is cheaper. I have some questions.
Absolutely.
A listener says, I am currently listening to you and I completely agree with what he is saying. I went away on a government scholarship and a private sector scholarship, yet I still cannot get a full-time position. I even reached out to the ministry and multiple politicians for help in finding full-time employment. And I guess the listener is speaking mostly to the difficulty, even after a university education or some type of overseas education, the difficulty they still find in coming home and finding employment. And I think it highlights why these partnerships and this integration of the WORC Jobs Cayman portal and all that becomes critical if we use it to our benefit, right? Because in hopes that we can eliminate issues just like this one. Because what I'm hearing, this listener say is the government has put money into them, right? Tens of thousands of it, I would assume. And they return home with in my opinion, the intention of scholarship is to provide education for people to come back home in order to help and be a part of the local economy, to put back into the local economy. And here we are, and this person certainly is not the first and the only. We put money into Caymanians to get tertiary education, and then and I've heard of stories of years, people being unemployed for long stretches of time, and having had tens of thousands of dollars invested in them, and they come back home and can't get work, right? And then I also had a question come in asking, she wants to know where her brother can register for the boat license. And I guess speaking to the young men you were talking to, is that something that they're doing through Inspire Cayman, or where are they doing?
They're not doing it through us. What we've done is we've connected them to a third party. So she can definitely email me and I can point her towards that third party. So you can give her my number, 939-1301, and we can point her towards where that third party is. But it's a fairly easy registration with them, and they set up all of that. And these guys, our guys had a phenomenal time doing that course. One of the things, Ruthana, I know we're getting ready to wrap up soon. I spent an hour and a half today talking to I'm not sure if you are aware that the EU have given all of the territories a very large sum of money to look at projects that will simulate their countries. It's called a Bid scholarship. I think one of my colleagues have sent some information
I saw the
to
press
you as well.
I saw it come through. I just didn't have time to read it.
Right. So I spent an hour and a half today speaking to an EU representative, and I was absolutely amazed, just how we can get into a point where the governments have also put in bids into this thing, and they've put in a bid into this thing, not understanding that they don't have the infrastructure right now to do anything. I have an infrastructure that people can actually do training right now. We're not talking about doing training next year. We're talking about I need funding to do training to scale up. We can scale into the districts if that's what it is. It's a matter of hiring people that are right here in this country, and we can scale up. We can scale up to a point where we can have every Caymanian boat owner can be a dive instructor. That's how much we can scale up because we have the talent right here. I have people from between eco divers, sunset divers, red sail, dive tech can all train up these people that ultimately they can become certainly better and more responsible, more equipped to take care of our beaches and our waters, but also to feed themselves long term.
Yes.
That's what this scholarship is for. So, I'm hoping that when you are able to review the press release, that you understand that I've gone to every length. No one could say that I haven't gone and I haven't turned over every rock. I haven't met with anybody because I have met with everybody and their grandmother. I have written memos, letters, I've written grant proposals, I've sat with people, I begged, I pleaded, I put my case out there, and still the statistics speak for themselves. Michael Myers didn't lay off 2,700 people from the tourism industry. At the end of the day, we now have to deal with that. Because if we don't deal with those people with care and with some compassion, all we're going to do is throw money at it, and it's not going to help them. Because what if, and again, COVID having gone away, it's still rampant in America in our very biggest market. So it's not like people are going to be rushing back to Cayman because the majority of those people, let's call it for what it is, they're broke. They have also been out of work, catching a plane to come back to Cayman to spend $5,000-$6,000 on a 5-6 day vacation. They're broke as well, right? So it's going to be a while. Where are the jobs? The jobs are in the TVET sector. Let's train up our people to take advantage of those jobs. We cannot continue to say that Caymanians don't want those jobs. Why is Theodore having to own his own company? Theodore have a vibrant company. He's still competing as a small business owner. We have a lot of large automotive dealers that do the same thing that Theodore have. But what does he bring to it? You know what he brings to his own uniqueness.
Absolutely.
He's going to give you a smile and a high five and a fist bump, and he's going to talk to you and laugh up with you. And that's what people are attracted to. He brings that, right, to the game. He's Caymanian. He brings that to the game as a small business owner. Why can't we allow more and more people? My cousin Nolan Stewart owns a horse farm in West Bay. I took my daughter there just before COVID. What a phenomenal experience. Though when I hear Nolan talk about horses, I just... like I look at his eyes and he comes alive when he talks about horses, right? Why can't we talk about trying to get more Caymanians to own that sort of stuff? Ryan Haylock owns his own business. Ryan went away. He came out with a financial degree as well. Hated it, and now he owns his own construction firm. I can give you names upon Caymanians who are in our sector, who are loving what they do. And we can duplicate that. And that's the stuff that I am sticking to this for. So again, I appreciate you helping me raise awareness to it. But everything right now, I can say to you, if we can get more funding, more Caymanians can be trained.
And just as a final reminder before we wrap up the show, how do people reach out to you if they are interested in signing up for one or trying to sign up for one of the courses and obtaining the scholarships that Inspire Cayman at this time?
So they can call us at 939 or call me at 939-1301, or they can email us at info@inspirekimandtraining.com. And then from there, like I said, we are starting interviews next week. So we're only taking on 10 people right now. We're going to see if we can interview about 15 to 20 people to get the first program off the ground. Because once we can get the first program off the ground, our grant, we've won a grant. So the folks that are providing that grant have said, once you can get the first program off the ground, we will continue to provide funding for this. So that's the exciting part that I like, is that I don't have to worry about anything long term about begging anymore. Is that I now have at least one stable funder who's bringing some money to the table who can now help Cayman Islands long term.
That is excellent. Michael, as always, thank you for all of the passion and work that you continue to put in, through Inspire Cayman and through other efforts. This is exciting news. And thank you so much to all of your partners, whether that be those that are helping provide scholarships or those that have committed to help employ people once they are trained at Inspire Cayman. And thank you for all of you who have tuned in. Linda Clark, quickly, I'll read her comment. She says, the European Union and the Caribbean OCTs agreed on a cooperation program under the 11th European Development Fund. Under that, EUR 4 million would be earmarked for the Resilient Sustainable Energy and Marine Biodiversity Program, and she puts the link in there. So thank you. I can't wait to be able to have further conversations. As I mentioned, I'll touch base with you as well, because I would like to hear more from the two young men who've done the applications and that particular program. And anytime that you want to come on so we can get updates as to how this is all going, you are more than welcome each and every time. Thank you so much, Michael. And guys, it is 6 o'clock on the button on the Star 92.7 clock, which means I'm about to be out of here and back again tomorrow at 5 p.m. sharp. I will be joined by Miss Teresa Lewis Pitcairn, and we will have a conversation about race and race relations in the Cayman Islands, but also in a global context. So tune in at 5 p.m. sharp tomorrow right here on Star 92.7 for some more Straight Talk.
Connect to the culture.